Hi everyone, welcome to the session. So today's session is on non-injury. This is again a part of a series of character building. Character building is something that Master Choa Kok Sui recommends that we do. Character building is something like, as it says, of course, it's like building our character. So sometimes what happens is that, through life, we have heard a lot of things about a lot of things. Sometimes we hear that ahimsa is everything. Sometimes we hear honesty is the best policy. We hear a lot of things through our childhood and through our adulthood. And so sometimes, at least with me, what happened is that I was kind of confused as to, okay, which one really is most important? Like somebody told me, hard work is most important. So when I came to the school of Master Choa Kok Sui and Pranic Healing, I really love the way he's kind of systematized it and has made it really easy for us to understand how to practice and the step-by-step process. Okay, so that's what we'll talk about today. So before we start, let's do a short invocation. Let's close our eyes, connect the tongue to the palate. Inhale and exhale. Let us invoke to the Supreme God, Divine Father, Divine Mother. We thank you for your priceless blessings, for divine light, divine love, divine guidance, divine love, mercy, inner healing, physical healing. Thank you for the inner strength to practice regularly. Thank you for your divine help and protection, for illumination, abundance, and prosperity. Let's take a deep breath. So today also we'll do the soul affirmation as part of the talk, as like a practical tool to actually use when we are in a situation where we need to use it. Okay, so with that. Super Brain Yoga basically is an exercise to help balance the upper chakras and the lower chakras. So that's what we're going to do right now. I'd like all of us to stand up and face east. East is a safe direction, regardless of what your age is. So hold your ears with your hands. Make sure the right hand is on top. Okay. So the right hand needs to be on top. And what we're going to do now is as we inhale, we're going to do a semi squat, which means we're going to squat like this. We're going to go down. And as we exhale, we're going to come up. Once we start, we're going to do it 7 times. Okay. So let's start. Make sure your right hand is on top. Okay. Just make sure your right hand is on top. That's really important. Connect the tongue to the palate and let's start. Inhale, go down. 1. Inhale, go down. 2. Inhale, go down. 3. Inhale, go down. 4. Inhale, go down. 5. Inhale, go down. 6. And the last one. Please stand up, stand straight. Let the energy move a little bit. So, so this is basically part 2, which is of character building of the first virtue as described by Master Choa Kok Sui as loving kindness and non-injury. So loving kindness is ahimsa and non-injury is, kisi ko chot nahi pahunchana. So basically it's like a yin and a yang. So Master Choa Kok Sui describes this also as the golden rule, which is that, you do something and you don't do something. And as we discussed earlier, there's also an aspect of this called Yama Niyama in yoga. And in the Bhagavad Gita also, there are 2 characters called Drishtaketu and Shaibya, who also represent the Yama Niyama. Okay, so combining all of that. So in the book Compassionate Objectivity by Master Choa Kok Sui, he basically says that injury can be done through non-action, or rather, sorry, injury can be done through inaction. Tolerating a wrongful deed is equivalent to injury through inaction. So what does this mean? Sometimes, and I thought this would be an interesting topic because sometimes we get, requests from people, especially in the case of relationships, marital relationships, newly wedded brides or husbands, basically saying that, my husband doesn't stand up for me, or, my father doesn't stand up for me, or my mother doesn't stand up for me, or something like that. So basically, the point is that if something wrong is happening, then it's really important for us to also stand up and object to that. Often in the case of, I'm sorry, it's a rough topic, but often in the case of even abuse, child abuse, we have always noticed that sometimes a family member is involved and sometimes somebody in the family who can do something about it does know about it but doesn't do anything. So that is also tolerating, something wrongful. So that's also part of non-injury, where we don't become a party to anything like that. Okay. Now the other context in which Master Choa Kok Sui talks about this is that he says the act of killing animals for food should not involve cruelty, malice, or enjoyment, or in seeing the animal suffer. He also says that the termination of rats, cockroaches, mosquitoes is permissible for hygienic reasons. Okay, so again, Master Choa Kok Sui is very, very what should we say, practical. Yeah. So in the case of loving kindness, which we discussed in the previous episode, in this episode we are talking about non-injury. So loving kindness is the projection of love, and non-injury is not hurting someone. Okay. Now there are many ways in which we can end up hurting somebody because of some words that we spoke or some thoughts. So one of the other things that Master Choa Kok Sui also says is, verbal non-injury is not saying something that is going to be hurtful, right? So sometimes we just think that, like, we just say things, right? I mean, we think that because honesty is the best policy, if we just say, you're so fat, I mean, for example, okay. So if you're saying that to somebody, that is also injurious, right? So non-injury basically, because sometimes people come and they say that, but we are really like so loving and so kind. Perhaps, but perhaps there are some things that we are saying, that we should not be saying. Or for example, if someone is talking to you about someone else and they say, don't you think this person is like, XYZ. Now it is up to us to either support that or for us to say, you know what, I don't know. Let me evaluate. Let me check for myself. So that's also a form of non injury where we don't participate in injuring somebody else. Okay. Now, the other thing that Master Choa Kok Sui says is that this is really nice. He says, but what is equally important is practicing non injury towards oneself. He says, by smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol excessively, and overworking, one may damage one's body and in the process may die early. So basically, what Master Choa Kok Sui is saying here is that if we have habits like this, which is smoking, drinking, overeating, overworking, we should ask ourselves, do I really care about my family? Do I care about the feelings of my children in case something happens to me? Okay, so this is for all the workaholics that we have here. Okay, so and he says these are indeed serious questions for us to meditate on. So, one is, of course, the non tolerance of injustice, which is what we talked about. There is an act factor of killing when it is necessary. So, for example, he talks about, termination of rats and cockroaches. And we also need to be aware of one more thing, which is, the armed forces, like soldiers, right? They also kill, but they don't do it out of malice. So, I don't remember exactly where, but I read somewhere that a soldier, if they are basically killing, the other side of the army, but they're not doing it out of enjoyment and they're not doing it out of malice, then the karma is very different. The karma is much, much lighter. To an extent, the karma may not even be there, because what they're doing actually is doing their duty. They're just performing their duty, and their duty involves killing. Okay, so that's where we are on non-injury. And he also says here that on page 226 from the book Achieving Oneness with Your Higher Soul, with the Higher Soul, he says, therefore watch your words that they do not hurt others. So again, non-injury, abstaining from things that are not good for us. Including that, he also says here that people who take illicit drugs should consider the psychological effects of their behavior towards their parents, grandparents, and loved ones. Is this the proper thing to do to people who are supportive of you? Is this a proper way to show gratitude for those people to whom you are indebted? Now, again, in extreme cases of what we call domestic violence or verbal abuse, or any other kind of injustice, it is important for us to stand up for other people also. Okay, let's be aware of the law of karma. When we help others, when we protect others, the great ones, the lords of karma, will also help us to be protected. So these are important things to consider. Again, the virtue that we are talking about is loving kindness and non-injury. It is from the mainly it's taken from the book Achieving Oneness with the Higher Soul, the Five Virtues by Master Choa Kok Sui. So again, if you have any questions or any specific issues that we'd like to discuss, then please put them in the chat box. Now, what I'd like us to also do is let's just think of, one thing that we wish to change about ourselves, a time when we have been non-injurious, perhaps by abstaining, by not saying anything. And let us do the soul affirmation keeping that in mind. And for those of us who are here in the live session, we will also do healing for you. So in case there are some injuries that you have in your aura, in your chakras, in your astral body, in your mental body, try and kind of gently bring them to the surface and just let us remove them when we do the mass healing for you. Okay. This option is obviously, this option is only available in the live sessions. Okay. Okay. Affirmations. So let's close our eyes. Connect the tongue to the palate. Inhale and exhale. Let us tell ourselves, I am that I am. I am not the body. I am not these injurious words. I am not the thought. I am not these injurious thoughts either. I am the soul. So sometimes when we do find ourselves thinking injurious thoughts for other people, let us not beat ourselves up with it. Okay, let's just be aware that as long as we are beginning to develop the consciousness that we are thinking injurious thoughts, we just kind of withdraw and we basically say, I am the soul. I am not these thoughts. I, the soul, am observing that my mental body or my emotional body or my physical body are having these kind of negative thoughts. I am not the thoughts. I am the soul. Okay. So once we start practicing this regularly, and that's one of the reasons why we suggest that we do the soul affirmation daily, is that so that when there is time to use it, it's kind of there in our upper memory, in our random access memory, and it's kind of there on the surface so that it's available. Okay, so what we'll do now is let's close our eyes, connect the tongue to the palate, inhale slowly, and as we exhale, let us let go of any tendencies to be lazy, to not take action where it is required, to tolerate injustice. Let us let that go. So let's be aware of our crown. Let's be aware of our heart. Let's raise our hands in blessing position like this. Let us bless ourselves. Let's bless ourselves with the virtue of loving kindness and non-injury. Let's visualize our entire aura filling up with this beautiful energy coming from the Supreme God, passing through our teacher, passing through all the gurus, all the holy gurus, all the holy masters, and flowing through us to the entire planet Earth. Let's bless everyone who is affected by the COVID-19 virus with rapid recovery. Let's bless their families with strength, courage, and correct diagnosis. Inhale and exhale. Let's bless everyone with non-injury, with the virtue of non-injury, with the virtue of loving kindness. Let's be aware that everyone has a financial target. Let's bless people's financial target, health target, relationship target, and spiritual target. May this also bring us awareness about our own targets. So let's also bless, by the law of karma, our own target for finances, health, relationship, and spirituality. Do make a note of your targets so that you'll know when they come true. Because sometimes we get things and then we forget. Yeah. Okay. So with that, let's also bless anyone who has requested us for blessings. Let's be grateful for the healing we have received through the Supreme God, through the techniques of Master Choa Kok Sui, through our instructors, through our trainers. We thank you. Let's also be grateful to God that we are channels of healing for others. Okay. Okay, once you're done, let's gently massage our face, our scalp, our neck, our shoulders, chest, liver, spleen, kidneys at the back, our hips, our thighs, our knees. Okay. Those of who are still blessing, that's okay. For the rest of us, we will the exercises, the closing exercises. Okay. So let's do eye rotations. So it's very important to do the closing exercises because it helps us to stabilize the energy. Okay, so the massaging and a little bit of jumping and etc. after that is really important to avoid energy congestion. So I hope you had a good session. I hope this was useful. The idea is to have a small talk and then to have a meditation and then to have healing so that, we put everything together and we can do our practices and remain on track. Okay. So thank you so much for joining. When we gather in large groups, the meditation is much more powerful. And also remember that we are all blessing the earth together. So thank you for your contribution in blessing the earth and making it a better place. And thank you so much. And we'll see you soon. Bye.